All right, we've received your sources, and they really dive deep into NetSuite automation, specifically using its own tools to streamline things.
That's right. And looking through them, one thing really jumps out, doesn't it?
Which bit?
That Gardner stat. Fully automating finance and ops workflows, potentially cutting process costs by up to 30%. That's huge.
30%. Wow. Yeah, that really frames why this is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal here in this deep dive is to explore what your sources say about NetSuite's main tools for this, the workflow engine and SuiteScript.
Exactly. Your sources start with the basics of NetSuite workflows. Think of these as, the go-to for automating routine tasks.
Like approvals, updating fields, sending notifications, that kind of thing.
Precisely. The system handles it based on rules you set up instead of someone doing it manually.
Okay. And the sources highlight the accessibility, right? It's often a visual tool.
Yes. A key point is that visual drag-and-drop interface. It's meant to be low-code, so administrators who aren't necessarily expert coders can still build useful automation.
That sounds crucial for getting things done faster. And your sources mention the core concepts, too, like a workflow knows it's for a sales order, not a purchase order.
Absolutely. That record type association is fundamental. Then you have states and transitions.
Right, the flow of the process.
Exactly. Understanding states is key because automation often defines the rules to move a record between them. You're mapping the business process visually.
And they don't just run all the time, they react to triggers and event types, your sources call them.
Yes, they're like listeners, waiting for something specific. A record created, edited, a field change, then they kick off.
And then they perform actions, setting fields, sending emails.
Making things visible or hidden.
Yeah.
And your sources also really stress auditability and traceability, which is vital.
You need that history, right, to see what happened and why. The sources make it sound pretty transparent.
It is. You can track which workflow steps ran on a record, which is essential for accountability and, frankly, troubleshooting.
Okay, so workflows handle the, let's say, rule-based visual stuff. But what happens when the rules get complex? Or you need something totally custom?
Well, that's where your sources pivot to SuiteScript.
The coding side of things.
Right. SuiteScript is NetSuite's JavaScript platform. Your material is clear. You use SuiteScript when the logic is too complex for standard workflow actions.
So things like pulling data from lots of different places, maybe unrelated records, complex maths, building new interfaces.
Correct. Complex custom records, calculations needing data across multiple transactions, accessing unrelated data, creating custom UIs like suitelets or portlets. That requires JavaScript skills, definitely.
Got it. So the insight isn't just what they are, but when to use them. Workflows for straightforward rule-based stuff where visual building and speed are key.
Yes, ideal for basic approvals, field updates, simple notifications, empowering non-developers.
But experts often mix and match based on the need.
They do. Your sources suggest evaluating each requirement. Is a standard workflow enough? Do we need full SuiteScript? Or can we combine them?
And that leads to something really interesting your sources mentioned, creating custom workflow actions with SuiteScript.
Exactly. This is where it gets powerful. You're extending the built-in workflow tool.
So you write your own specific action using code and then just plug it into the visual workflow.
Pretty much, yeah. The sources outline it.
Yeah.
Define the complex task, write the SuiteScript 2.0 code for just that task, upload it, and then configure it in the workflow builder as a custom action step.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine needing a complex commission calculation based on historical sales and current item margins. A standard workflow action can't handle that complexity easily.
Right.
But you write a SuiteScript function for that specific calculation. Then, in your visual workflow, you just add a step like run script, calculate commission. It triggers your code.
Okay, that makes the synergy much clearer. Now, doing this right,
Yeah.
your sources had best practices, didn't they? To avoid, headaches later.
Yes, vital for keeping things manageable. First, clear naming conventions. For everything, workflows, scripts, fields, states, makes it understandable.
Good point. What else?
Always enable audit logging. For workflows, custom actions, everything. Your sources frame this as non-negotiable for compliance, tracing issues. It's your safety net.
Transparency again. And they mentioned something about not overcomplicating the UI with workflows.
Right. It's about user experience and performance. If a step needs really complex logic or data fetching, push that complexity into a SuiteScript or maybe a Suitelet.
Keep the workflow diagram clean. Let the code do the heavy lifting behind the scenes.
Exactly. And finally, your sources were really strong on this. Document every customization.
Absolutely essential, I'd imagine.
Totally. Detailed records help with knowledge sharing, onboarding, future upgrades, audits. It prevents your custom work from becoming a mystery black box.
So pulling it all together then, what your sources show is NetSuite offers this spectrum, right? From accessible workflows to deep SuiteScript customization.
And often, the real power is in combining them,
Yeah.
especially using those custom scripted actions within a workflow. It lets you tailor processes very specifically.
Which leads to better efficiency, getting rid of repetitive tasks, and making NetSuite fit your business, not just a generic model.
Precisely. Enhanced efficiency, less manual work, truly custom processes.
So thinking about that potential cost reduction, that 30% figure you mentioned, and the efficiency gains, perhaps it's time for you, the listener, to really consider how automating and customizing your own NetSuite processes could make a difference.